Podcast. Haunting Halloween and horror.
If you want to communicate with people around the world, here, use my crystal ball.
Podcast Bone Phone. Hey, Baker, what time is it? I'm glad you asked, Scully. Actually, it's time to geek out with a fellow monster kid from the YouTube channel Monster Kids Studios. It's Rich Savidge. What's up, Rich?
Hey, what's up, Chris? Everything's great, man. Doing great.
You had a great spooky season?
Oh, hell yeah. I've never had a bad one. We love Halloween around here. We go nuts just like you do, I'm sure, with the decorations and the yard haunt and, treating the neighbors to something cool.
I saw you having some fun with the Universal monster, like you had your own. I don't know how much decorations you do out in front of your house. I did watch the video; it was only a couple minutes long. But yeah, you guys, was that you and your wife and a friend of yours?
Yeah, that was our son actually.
Oh, your son!
Yeah,
all right,
and my
great.
wife and my son. I have a bunch of Universal Monsters masks from Trick or Treat Studios, so I decided to break them out this year and try them out. And she was nice enough to dress up like the bride for me, so she humors me, thank God. So we had a great time. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was the kids' idea to dress up like the Wolfman. So I was like, sure, take the mask, put it on, let's do this. And every year we try to do something different, have a different theme, and just to treat the neighbors and their kids. They love coming by the house and. We're a pretty big draw around here in the neighborhood, so it's kind of cool. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens next year. We're already planning for next year, so we're already trying to figure out how to kick it up a few notches.
Yeah, it's that sickness. It's a sickness that we have.
Oh, it's a sickness. It's a sickness. That's for sure. It's an addiction. There's nothing you can do about it. Once you get started, it's like you don't know when or how to stop.
Yeah,
it's
one. Yeah, it is. It is a total. As I always joke, I say. You're always chasing the dragon. You can never catch the dragon, but you're always chasing the dragon.
The problem is where to store the dragon after the holiday. Just putting all this stuff someplace. That's the big. And my wife's like, let's get this, let's get that. Well, where are we going to put this stuff? We have no place to put this stuff after Halloween. We got a storage facility and we have a garage that's full. And I'm like, where are we going to put everything? I have no idea. So, that's always consideration. We're measuring the side of the house now so we can figure out if we build a haunted walkthrough where we're going to put everything, the day after Halloween when we start taking it down. Well, we can put it up against the side of the house, cover it with some black sheeting or something to keep it safe. And I don't know. We're going to talk about it after the new year. We're going to get started right away. So
I have one of these things from Shelter Logic. It's basically like a prefab, or it's like a vinyl covered aluminum framed garage. It's like 10 by 12 by 20 or something rough. Those are the rough dimensions. And I bought it a number of years ago, although the weather here in New England can get pretty nasty. So it looks like my daughter was joking around and she goes, Dad, because it's been patched up so many times, I have like 5 different tarps patched over the thing because the original, to buy the tarps, like the official Shelter Logic coverings, they're expensive. So when you get your first one, when your original one gets destroyed, I'm like, screw it. I go down to Harbor Freight and I buy, these big ass tarps and then just tie the thing down and so I keep tying tarps and tarps and tarps over it. My daughter's like, it's perfect. It looks like it's like Frankenstein together. So it's kind of perfect for what you have stored in there, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
But see, you probably have your own yard and everything. So we have an HOA around here. So we have to be very careful about where we put things and how we store things. And I can't wait to move and get we're talking about once our son graduates from high school is getting a place where there's, some land and we don't have to worry about that sort of thing. So we can kind of do whatever we want. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I don't think I could do an HOA. I always hear all these horror stories from people in the HOAs, and I'm like, I don't think I can do that. I don't want anybody telling me what I can and cannot do, what decorations I cannot put out in front of my house, because My display is pretty elaborate, and HOA that would not fly in an HOA. No way.
Yeah, they're pretty liberal when it comes to the decorating thing. It's just that, obviously, if you kept it up too long or something like that, you'd probably have a problem. But if it goes down right after the
too early or too late,
exactly,
it becomes a problem.
Yeah, if I still had my stuff up there like right now, we'd probably be having a conversation with somebody. So, you can't leave it up too long. But it's hey, you got to do what you got to do. I don't know. I love this. Yeah, it wouldn't be Halloween without it.
Yeah. Now you are coming at us live from the world famous Monster Kids Studios, are you not?
Yes, it's world famous to me.
Hidden away like the Bat Cave.
Yeah, we're right here in St. Augustine, the oldest city in America and the most haunted, according to some. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool place to live.
Now, first off, can you explain to anyone that's listening that is not in the know, what is a monster kid?
Oh, well, monster kid is generally considered someone who was born in, I guess you'd say, like the mid-50s to the, I would say, late 60s, originally anyway. And they came around at a time when shock theater premiered on television, when people had televisions in their sets and the little kids were glued to them watching all the new TV shows that were coming on, and then Universal released all their horror movies to television, the old black and white classic monsters, and it was the first time most kids ever got to see any of that stuff. You heard about it from your parents and all, but it wasn't in the movie theaters or anything, so we had this rush of movies from shock theater came on, and most of the television stations didn't know what to do with the films, so they hired people to host the films and be funny for the kids, so you had horror hosts for the first time. And, the little kids like me tuned in and saw Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Wolfman for the first time in glorious black and white. And we were hooked. And this whole generation of little kids grew up, in love with the classic monsters. And somebody along the line coined the phrase, the term monster kids, and it applied to all the little kids who grew up in that era. And fortunately for me, I was one of them. It was a magical time to be a little kid. So it was great. Now I'm aging myself, or dating myself now. Oh man, this guy's old.
You're Gen X, of course, right? You're Gen X?
Well, I'm actually considered a boomer.
Are you really? Okay, no, I thought you were...
I missed Gen X by like 3 years, I think.
Okay. Yeah, Gen X, what is it? What's Gen X, like 64, 65 and up? Is that right?
Well, Gen X is like 60. Like 60. Boomers are considered like I'm 63. I'll say it. But yeah, so boomers are like 65, and people like around that age, 65, 63 and older. So I missed a cut. I missed a cut off by a couple of years, I think.
Yeah,
so, I'd rather be I'll be Gen X if you want to. Yeah. I'll sign up for that. Sure, why not? But yeah, baby boomer generation, monster kids, the whole thing. So yeah, I've been around for the whole ride. It's been pretty cool so far.
Who was your horror host?
Dr. Shock.
Dr. Shock?
It was Dr. Shock in Philadelphia. Yeah, Channel 17. Never missed a show. He came on every Friday night at first. And his ratings were so bad, they actually canceled him. And then he had all this fan support from the local audience in South Jersey and Philadelphia, and everybody complained to the network. So they put him on Saturday afternoons. And he had 2 shows. He had Mad Theater and Horror Theater. And he'd play them back to back, 2 horror movies every Saturday. And it started around, I don't know, like 1 in the afternoon, something like that. And boy, I wouldn't leave the house, And my old man, he used to get so angry. Get out and play. I was like, I'm not going anywhere until I see what the next movie is. And
yeah, we had Creature double feature in Boston, and it was a Saturday afternoon show. Now I remember, I don't remember if we had like a syndicated. I mean, I remember in the 80s. I do remember when they syndicated Elvira, and I do remember watching Elvira live on one of the channels up here in Boston, which was 38 or 56, one of them. And but as a kid, but all through the 70s, we had Creature double feature, which was two back-to-back horror movies that began at like right after it was like the bowling, right after like Candlepins for Cash or one of the bowling things. It was the bowling. They used to jam anything that they could in like those dead time slots. Saturday after the morning show cartoons were over, there would be like bowling for an hour or two, and then boom, you'd have Creature double feature.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And it began. And it began with mostly all of the Shock Theater ones, the Universals, a lot of the classic, some of the B sci-fi, B horror movies from the 50s, 60s. And then I don't know what happened. Maybe it was just a ratings thing. But all of a sudden, they started showing some Toho movies. And once the Godzilla and Mothra and everything, all of a sudden it just went to two back-to-back Toho movies, and that's all we saw. It was Toho movies from the late 70s into the early 80s, and by that point I kind of fell out of. I was getting to be a teenager, and
they probably were getting those movies cheap or something. They were probably getting them really cheap.
They probably got a better deal through Toho, and they ran them back to back. Once again, you try to get me out of that house. My mom would have to she'd have to come in and slap the knob on shut the TV off and go out. And I'm like, it's just the movie's almost over.
That's great.
She's like, go out and play street hockey or do something, anything. Get out of the house.
That's funny. That was my dad. That was my old man. Was that way? I'd hear him yelling at my mom. He thinks he's got to stay in his house, watch those creep shows all damn day. He's got another thing coming. And because I was monopolizing the TV, back then you had like one TV in the living room, and I used to monopolize that thing all Saturday. It was just like, forget it. You're not watching any. I get up super early to try to catch Johnny Quest because he always seemed to come on at like 8:00 in the morning. And then I'd sit there and watch cartoons for 3-4 hours and then wait for Dr. Shock. My poor parents.
Yeah. Kids who grew up in these like more recent generations just have no clue because once again we had the three major networks, PBS, and then a couple of maybe local networks.
Yeah, you had the UHF channels
that you could watch. So you might have had 5 or 6 different channels that you could watch. That was about it. So you didn't have much to go with. And then, when it was on, you had to be there to watch it or you weren't going to see it.
Yeah.
So you had to everything was an event to watch. You had to go through, you'd pull out like the weekly TV guide. You'd go through and like highlight or underline everything that you wanted to see.
I did
and then
that.
Basically make notes and tape them to the TV so you wouldn't forget, so you wouldn't miss whatever show was coming up. And it was everything.
So that's exactly right.
We had a second run movie theater in my town that you could go to, and they would run like the Hammer horror. So I remember seeing like Taste the Blood of Dracula at the theater as a kid, and a bunch of those movies because they would get them on the cheap, and they would do a matinee in the afternoon and run them.
Yeah, I have a brother who's 4 years older than me, and he used to take me. He and I used to go every Saturday to the matinees, and we watched all those Vincent Price movies and all the Hammer movies, and it was just so cool. The theaters filled up with kids who were like 12 years old, 10 years old, and you get to watch those cool movies. And
everybody's throwing popcorn in.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was such a good time.
You throwing candy at each other and shit, and everybody's laughing.
And now everybody worries about their kids watching those things. Our parents were like, "Hey, we're going to movies. I'm taking. All right, see ya." Just out the door we went.
That's how my parents would get rid of us. They'd drop us off when they knew we were there for like 4 hours or something. They could get rid of us for 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gone the whole day. Hey, where's the kids? Oh, they're out. Thank God. They're gone. They're out somewhere.
We'll send Uncle Sean back to pick you up after he gets out of the bar,
That was crazy, when you think about how things have changed. Because my parents, I swear, growing up, they never knew where I was. 10 or 12 years old, 8 years old
Never.
even. They never knew where I was. I was in the neighborhood. I was playing. That's all they knew.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I was thinking about that too. And like, once again, this does show our age because I would not want to grow up in the last generation or two of kids, because everything is helicopter parents. You got to wear. I was just saw a kid today, and I just thought of this. There was 3 kids riding around on their bikes, which you almost never see. But there was 3 kids out there riding on their bikes, and they all had helmets on. I'm like, God damn it, kids, take those helmets off. What are you, sissies?
I say that stuff too.
But yeah, we had no helmets. We were going off. We were building ramps, going with our like banana seat bikes, and going off of ramps.
Everybody wanted to be Evil Knievel. Yeah. Everybody wanted to be Evil Knievel.
My brother went off a ramp on his bike, and his frame snapped in half on his bike. He's just right at the seam. The thing broke. Luckily, there was an old timer in the neighborhood who was a welder, and he was like a weird looking older guy, but he was really nice to us. And we used to, behind his back, call him Frankenstein, because we thought he kind of looked like Frankenstein. and we brought it down to his house, and he welded the bike back together, and it held for a long time. You know, he put a couple of tacks on that thing. It worked great. But yeah, we were doing all that. We were out. We would go out, play Army. Like, our parents were just, get out of the house. You just get away from the TV, get out of the house, and I'll see you when the street lights come on.
And all the kids would scatter. Yeah. The lights come on, the kids scatter. And we were good kids.
We lived. We turned out all right.
That was the thing, though. The kids all went home. You know, the kids would go home for dinner and then come back out again. And then when those street lights came on, everybody would scatter and go home. No questions asked. You know, it wasn't like, I'm not going to do what my parents say. I'm going to stay out here and, get in trouble. No, everybody just went home. Well, do it again tomorrow. You know, it was really something.
You knew the rules, and you abided by the rules, but you were pretty much, they didn't know where you were, and you were just gone. Yeah. You got out of school, you got off the bus, you walked home. Both my parents worked. Or they were in college, like we were broke. My parents got married super young. So they were either in college working part-time jobs and going to school, or then they got out of school and they were both working full-time. So they were never around. We'd get off the bus, we would walk home, we'd drop our stuff off at the house, or let ourselves in, drop our stuff off, go out and play, get back, do the homework.
The original latchkey kids.
The latchkey kids. And then, and then we would be, and then my parents would eventually come home, and we just had to make sure that we'd shut the TV off when we heard the car pulling into the driveway. My parents were always like, get that TV off. You could watch later on with them when they were hanging out. But yeah, it was different times, man, different times. But
good times. So now look, then we get to enjoy it all again. Now that we're older, see that it just never goes away. Now you have the money to buy all the cool stuff you always wanted.
I was broke and couldn't afford shit, and we're going to talk about probably a lot of the things I couldn't afford to have when I was a kid. You might have. I don't know.
No. So, you want to talk about broke? I could tell you some stories about being broke.
Oh, okay.
My folks never had the opportunity, never went to college or any of that stuff. We were dirt poor pretty much all my life growing up. So it was rough. They made do when they could, I didn't suffer too much. I mean, I did get the occasional G.I. Joe and, all that kind of cool stuff. But, it was tough.
I told my kids, I got presents at Christmas and I got something on my birthday. The rest of the year, I got shit. I had a paper route when I was 8. I started working when I was 8 years old. I've never stopped. I had a paper route when I was 8 and had it until I was maybe about 13 or 14.
Good for you, man.
Then I started working under the table somewhere, and then started working over the table, and I worked every friggin' odd job you can possibly imagine. Because if I wanted to buy something, if I wanted to get some cool shit, I had to go. I had to use my own money for it. My parents weren't giving me anything. I knew better than to go to ask my parents for money. They would just laugh at me. Oh, you're serious? Oh, okay. Get out
How
of
much?
here. No.
Yeah, how about I'll just give you $1 million. How's that? Will that do it? Sure, get out of here. Get out of here. Yeah, I know what that's like. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what prompted you to start the YouTube channel?
Well, it's funny because you mentioned something about it earlier when we were talking. I had this idea of being like a horror host. And I was kind of the same thing you were trying to do. I was going to try to be entertaining and put some snippets of some kind of cool information that has something to do with the movie in between the movie, and fill it out and all that other cool stuff. And I thought the shows were pretty good. I was really enjoying doing them. I was like, okay, if the movie's about spiders, I'll have like a clip in here, a thing about, spiders, different kinds of poisonous spiders. And then if the movie's about a certain celebrity or a famous movie star, I'd have a clip in there about their life and stuff like that. And kind of, between the movies, stop it, talk about other things, and then show the movie again. And I was like, I want to do this. This will be fun because, I'll get to talk to people and entertain people that are, like-minded, people who enjoy the same things I do. But then the shows were pretty long, a couple hours long. And like you said, this day and age, everybody wants, 10, 15 minutes and I'm moving on, and I didn't get all that. I'm still learning, you know what I mean? I didn't understand that would be a problem. And I wasn't getting enough views and I was putting a lot of time, putting the shows together. So like you alluded to earlier, you're not making any money off of it and it's not your job. It's your passion. It's something you enjoy. But there comes a time when you're like, okay, the return of investment isn't here. So it's like I'm enjoying it and the 100 people who watched it enjoyed it, but it's not getting me where I need to go. So that kind of, I was bummed out, but then I was like, well, here's what I'll do then to save time. Just like you said with the audio podcast is I'll just put the movies up. And just put them up there with an intro and say, hey, enjoy this movie. It's really cool. And have fun that way. And then I wanted to do a kind of a weekly thing where I talk about movies that are coming out and stuff like that. And everything just gets to be so time consuming that I can't keep up with it. And it's disappointing. And I feel like I'm letting people down, if I can't keep up with it or fulfill my obligations. So I'm trying to find another way around that.
One thing I did notice that you were doing like this week in horror history, that's probably the most time consuming thing that you have to produce.
Oh yeah.
Like I say, doing the movies that, now do you have any problems? Because now you do have some fantastic movies up there. You have, how many movies have you posted on your channel so far?
It's over 80, like maybe 80, 83, 85, something like that.
Over 80?
Yeah, I think it's like over 80 movies.
Over 80 movies, and commercial free, I believe. I don't think you're monetized.
I could be, but I applied for monetization, but YouTube doesn't want to monetize because they're saying that the content, the movies and stuff can be found in a bunch of other places, on YouTube, which they can. It's fair assessment. So they wanted me to put more original content up. And that's what I'm working on now because I'm going to put up my own show. And that's why I was talking to you about hopefully you'll come on as a guest and, we can chat some more. But
oh, yeah, sure.
I want to do like a weekly show where I get together with some fellow monster kids and we talk about, movies that are coming out, things we enjoy, just a kind of a casual chit chat thing where everybody can kind of hang out and talk about all that cool stuff, No,
not only is that probably a lot less work on your end as far as production, like post-production and all of that.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that, but I think it's more appealing. People seem to be, like as I see on YouTube, people seem to really dig conversations with people. That people are just chatting, talking, as long as they're engaging. You know what I'm saying? I find that my interviews do better than any. I could rewrite something, produce it, spend 8 or 10, 12, 20 hours on something, put it up, and I'm thinking it's the best thing. It's going to blow the doors. It's going to get tons of downloads and views and listens. And just a regular interview with somebody just chatting away, having a conversation just does so much better. So
yeah, especially if you can get people involved. Yeah, you get other people involved and let them be a part of the conversation. And I figure this way, I get a few of fellow monster kids together. We can have a couple of beers while we're talking and just chill and, you know what I mean? To just have some fun with it. So that's the thing I'm working on right now. I've got pretty much everything set up. Now I'm just trying to find a couple of people that will come on with me. The problem is most of us monster kids aren't very tech savvy when it comes to how to do all this stuff. So I've asked a couple of people and they're like, I think I have a webcam. I think I know how to use this microphone. And I'm like, okay, well, we're just going to experiment and try it out and see what happens.
Oh yeah, I get that all the time when I talk to people about doing interviews. Like I did an interview with Ricky Dick from Castle Blood, and we were talking.
I saw that,
and he was like, "Hey," and so I ended up having to record. Like we tried everything. I tried to I was giving him try it on the computer, try it on a tablet, try it on a phone, download the app. He could, for some reason it was not working. He probably had just really an ancient smartphone on him, and I finally just said, "All right, look, I'm just gonna call your number and record it. The audio quality is not as good, but I can just call you and talk to you on your phone. So I can use my system, my mic on this end, and just call you." And I've had to do that with a few other people. I've had to do that with why am I spacing out on his name? Yeah, Dr. Lady, he does Creepy Sheepies every Friday. Same thing with him. He's hilarious. He is a true horror host. If you have not checked out his channel, go check out his channel. He does these things called Cheapy Creepies, which are mask reviews. And he reviews all kinds of masks, Halloween masks. And it's just he is a true horror host. He's a true horror host. He actually was a horror host way back in the day, and
I'm writing that down. That sounds good.
Great channel, definitely worth a check out. I have an interview with him too on my channel if you wanted to check that out. He's
really
a pretty fascinating individual. But
Cheapy Creepies. Got it. That sounds great. That sounds like right up my alley.
Oh, it's the Mask Wizard channel. Mask Wizard channel.
Mask Wizard. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm writing this stuff down while you say it.
Yeah. Good channel. He has a lot of older videos too. He has the Horror Hotel and the Mask Fan Attic. It's lots of good stuff. But anyway, let's get back on the Monster Kids stuff.
Oh yeah.
Are you a collector? Do you collect a lot of old stuff? Do you have a decent collection, or do you just ogle at other people's collections?
No, I have a pretty extensive collection of things. Drives my wife crazy, but yeah. But she complains sometimes, and then she indulges me. She'll come in and, "Hey, look what I found for you," and she'll have some action figure or something, and I'm like, you're an enabler, but I love you. So yeah, I got actually, if you look at my latest shows, especially when I get the podcast up and running, I've got stuff all behind me on shelves and posters and toys and masks, and I've got a lot of comic books. I just started going through my comic books to see what I have and what I need, and I have a friend up in Ohio, it's JC's Comics, and he just hooked me up with a Captain America 100 and a Spider-Man 121. So 2 books I've been coveting for a long, long time. So yeah, I've got the comics, I've got the toys. Yeah.
Now, do you have a collection of horror comics?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I've got.
What do you have?
Yeah, quite a few. I've got Frankenstein, the monster Frankenstein. I've got just about the whole run of Dracula from Marvel Comics, The Tomb of Dracula. So that was my favorite. And I've got, it's not horror, but I've got like all the old Planet of the Apes magazines. I collected those when I was a kid. I still have them all. Along with my Kiss comic books and. But yeah, I've got all the like weird tales and. The Living Mummy and Werewolf by Night and all that cool stuff from Marvel put out back in the 70s. And God, I love that stuff. I still read them.
You got Creepy, Eerie, Vampirella.
Creepy and Eerie, I have a few of those, but I had a lot of them when I was a kid. But when you're younger, the stuff happens to them. They disappear. Your mother throws them away. I don't know.
You don't think that you're going to save it. You don't think it's going to be worth anything. You just kind of,
yeah. It starts, they're taking up space, and you do something crazy, and then there's years go by, and you're like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I get rid of those things? And yeah, I had a bunch of Famous Monsters magazines too. I read that a lot growing up, and then one day, I made the mistake of joining the Navy and leaving all my stuff at my parents' house, and then you come home, hey, where's all my stuff?
Yeah, it's all gone.
Yeah, where's my stuff? Oh, you wanted that? Oh, what? My collection of monster magazines I've been keeping since I was 8? I didn't want those.
I lost a lot of cool stuff when I moved. We moved in 1980. We moved from an apartment to our first house. And my mother just purged all these cool toys. Like I had all my Mego action figures, all the superhero action figures from Mego. I had a couple of the I think I had some of the Mad Monster action figures in there as well. I just, and I, like I say, there was so many years had gone by, and I was like, oh man, I started watching what's that, Seth? The Robot Chicken, right? And the Robot Chicken.
Oh yeah, Robot Chicken.
And they use a ton of Mego action figures in all of the skits.
Yeah.
And I started watching that, and I'm going, oh man, I would have loved to have had my Mego action figures. Now I'm not a collector, but sometimes things come up into they'll pop up. Somebody will post something, and it will pop up, and it hits me right in the freaking forehead, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to buy that. And so I don't have much of a collection of anything anymore, but I do have, I did buy when the Mego re-released they put out their Universal monsters, not their old Mad Monsters. I bought all of the basic Universal, like the Creech, Frankenstein, Dracula.
I did it too.
Actually, Dracula,
I'm
still missing Dracula because I was trying to get the Dracula with the red lined cape, but those were a little bit harder to find and a little bit more expensive. But I did have the Bride and all of those.
I'm trying to say, I have the gray.
Yeah. So anyway,
I have the gray cape. Yeah.
And I forgot. I got to go back and pick him up. So. The Wolfman. Well,
that's what happens. Yeah. You see that stuff and it just jars your memory, and you're like, oh man, I'd love to have that again. Fortunately for us, we've lived long enough where they're like, they make repro versions. They come out with them a second time. And then you're like, all right, this time I'm buying it and I'm keeping it.
I don't care. I'm not a person because I'm not a collector. I don't care that it's a reproduction. To me, I'm just either. Like, oh, I can have it. I can have it again and put it up on my shelf, and it'll be freaking cool. So. And then NECA's doing a lot of cool stuff.
Oh, NECA's great.
NECA released these the action figures. They were the Ben Cooper costumed action figures. Did you see those?
Yeah, actually, I just pre-ordered some of them. They reissued the first set. They reissued it, but this time it's going to be in glow in the dark. So I got it. It's on its way. Can't wait.
So I bought the first set that came out. I immediately dove on and bought it. Once I saw it, I was like, my jaw hit the floor, and I was like, oh my God, I have to have that. And I was like, buy. And I bought it, and I had to wait 6 or 7 months for it to arrive before they released it. But
wise investment too. They're worth a lot of money already. Those things you try to buy them online, they're like triple the price they were when they first came out.
Took them out of the box. I kept the boxes, but I took them out of the box, put them bought little stands for them, have them on my dresser. So I've got, so those are the only, I have those 5 and then 5 of the other Universal Monster Mego figures. And I was looking at, cause I had all of the ape figures. That was one thing I did have, is I had all the apes.
Yeah, me too.
I think I had that little, the set where there was one smaller set that had the jail. You know what I'm talking about? It had it was like the little laminated cardboard when it had the set with the jail. And I had that jail around for a long time.
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about.
Finally, my mom threw it away with a bunch of some of my Star Wars shit. She got rid of my Millennium Falcon. It was all broken up, and she got rid of it. And I was like, you got rid of it? I was like, I was out of the house for 10 years before she threw it away, but I was pissed that she got rid of that. And I still had that ape cage, and then she got rid of that and a bunch of other shit. I was pissed.
I'll tell you, that happened to me. I came home one time, my folks gave away all my apes and my ape treehouse to a friend of theirs' son who was 5 years younger than I. We didn't think you'd want that anymore. He's going to play. I'm like, you gave my apes? You gave my treehouse away? Here I'm 18 years old. I'm like, I still wanted to keep that.
I had the treehouse. I wanted the fortress. You remember the big ass fortress? I wanted that, but it was too much money. My parents were not going to get it for us. And then all of a sudden, then we were already on to next thing you know, Star Wars came out, and then it was everything was Star Wars figures after that point.
Yeah, Star Wars. I say that's when I kind of got out of it. I was older then, and like I said, I joined the Navy, and so, I was just I don't know, the Star Wars things. And when they shrunk down G.I. Joe to make him real tiny, I was like, okay, I'm out. I can't be a part of this.
I had one of the original G.I. Joes with the Kung Fu grip.
Oh yeah,
Which was
I've got a bunch of them sitting behind me on the shelf right here. I've got all of them sitting behind me right now.
I had Steve Austin where you could crank up, you could lift the car engine.
Yeah, you look through his eye. You can look through his little eye there.
You can look through his eye.
Bionic eye.
Yeah. And you could roll up his like latex skin sleeve, and you could pull out the bionic components out of his arm. There was like two little slots.
How cool is that, right? That's cool.
I did actually bought a repro of the Evel Knievel stunt cycle because I just couldn't resist myself.
Yeah, I saw that. I've been wanting to get that, and I still haven't.
Yeah, I know. Like I know this is veering off from our Monster Kid shit, but it's all kind of.
I know. It's all part of it, right?
It's all kind of in that same category of really awesome toys from the 70s and whatnot.
Sure, it is.
Now, did you collect any of the did you ever order stuff from any of the comic books or magazines? Like, did you get any of like the Dawn Post masks from the magazines or anything like that back in the day?
No, I used to look at those ads and just drool. You know, I wanted all that stuff so bad. And, I mean, back then, you know, it's, you send us $1 or $5. I'm like, I don't have that kind of money. You know, it may as well have been $1,000. So, no, I never had the money to do that stuff. And I sure as heck couldn't talk my mom into buying that stuff for me.
And it was always that thing. Like, you had to a check or a money order, send it off into the ether and just hope that something showed up in your mailbox at some point. You know, within you had no idea whether they got the check or money order, whether the order was processed. There was zero communication. Just one day you'd come home and something was there. It's like Ralphie finding his little decoder pin. Like you'd come home and you'd keep checking, and then after months go by, finally something might show up, and you're like, "Oh my God, it's here!"
Yeah. And usually you were so disappointed, you know, because it didn't look anything like what you were. Like, this isn't what I wanted.
Well, because all the ads were like drawings. They weren't even the actual picture of the actual mask. So it's like you didn't know. I always thought they were going to be total shit. So even when I had my paper route, I never thought to order because I always thought that they were going to be real shit. Then I didn't realize, they were actually really freaking cool. Like the Dawn, like if you bought one of those Dawn Post calendar masks and kept it in great condition, those things are like freaking such a hot commodity now. I always see people talk, you know. So I'm trying to think of what other did you have the Aurora model kits?
Oh yeah, I had them all, every single one of them. And I had the originals, and then the glow in the darks came out, and of course, you know, that's what I really wanted. I wanted the glow in the dark models. And my mom used to joke around with it all the time. God bless her soul. She's always like, I got to go back in his room, and it's just a creep show back there. She goes, every time I go back there, all I see is these glowing heads and hands everywhere. She's like, and they were all over the room. And she was really good natured about it. She actually used to help me build the things if I struggled with them a little bit. But I had them all over the room, and God, I love those things. And I have all the repro versions now. So I haven't had the heart to take them out of the box and build them yet, but...
Yeah, but I mean, before there were action figures, the Aurora model kits were about as close as you could get. I remember playing with I think I had the Creech, you know, and and I was playing with them, and I think I broke them because they weren't made to be played with. You know, made to you kind of put them together, you paint them up, and you stick them on your shelf.
Yeah, they gather dust up on the shelf.
I was craving to have something to play with that I'd be playing with it, you know, like you get an action figure and like an Aurora model, and you have them attacking each other. And next thing you know, your model's in pieces, and you're like, where's that model glue? I got to put the sucker back together again. I just broke the shit out of it. But
then it came out with monster scenes after that, and they were more playable because they had actually, you know, arms that can move and things like that. So you could actually play with the monster scenes models a little more. You know, there was those smaller ones where they had the guillotine and what was it, the pit and the pendulum thing. And God, I have all those too. I bought all the repro version of those when they came out because I had the whole set when I was a kid, and they took them off the market like a year into it because parents were complaining about how the toys were oversexed and too violent and all this other stuff.
Well, remember, like the victim.
Yeah,
the victim was like that big controversial. the woman who was the victim.
Yeah, no
it
shoes.
It was like that so controversial.
Shorts.
I think they had to. Yeah, like skimpy little outfit.
She had little shorts and
they
a
took that
top one that was tied in the front.
Little Daisy,
Daisy
Daisy Dukes on.
And they just called her the victim. She didn't even have a name. It was just the victim.
Did they ever did they do that? Did they ever re-release that one, or did they not?
They did. They released.
Right?
They re-released all of them. They have. I have them all sitting here with me. They got the victim and the monster and Dr. Deadly and all that cool stuff, man.
They're not all in the box. You did put them together, did you? Did you paint them up?
No, they're still in the box. No, they're still in the box. I haven't taken them out. I can't. Okay. I want to, but I don't know. First off, if I took them out and built them, I have no idea where I would put them. You know, and I'd want to probably display them somewhere, and I don't think my wife will let me put them like on our mantle or something like that. So, which is where they belong. You know, they deserve at least that. But I just don't know where I'd put them. All these because I've got so much stuff.
I gotta move the good shine out of this hutch because my action figures are gotta go somewhere.
Exactly. See, I mean, you understand. I mean, she humors me a lot, and she's good-natured about it. But I don't want to push my luck. You gotta choose your battles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like you gotta keep her. If she's already put up with you this long, the best. It sounds like she's keeper,
the best.
Right?
She really is. I think she appreciates sometimes the little kid that I am sometimes, you know. Yeah, it keeps us young. Yeah. You know, we have fun.
So what are some other collectibles I was thinking about? Do you have any no, I don't remember. You remember the Peter Pan records where they were like the theater of the mind type records where they would have like the drama, like the radio drama things, and they were on a 45 and you could play them. Pretty sure they had a bunch of monster versions of those. I mean, I remember having some Spider-Man ones when I was a kid too, but I can't remember. I mean, if it was a monster one, I probably had it. But I just can't recall if there were any out there. Do you have any of those around?
I've got a bunch of them actually. On the YouTube channel, there's a show I did called Vinyl Destination, and all those recordings are on there, like tons of them. The scary sound stuff and all that cool stuff.
I was listening or / watching those a while ago, so I just forgot that those were up there. Yeah, I'll have to go back.
I record those. I record those from the albums that I have, and I talk about it a little bit. And I love those things. Some of them I've had since I was a child because I used to sit. You know, we had that big stereo console record player thing that took up half the living room.
Yeah, it was furniture.
And all I remember is sitting in front of that thing and sitting in front of the speakers, and I put them monster scary sounds albums on and just sit there and listen to Alfred Hitchcock or Boris Karloff tell stories, and it's just like, you know, your imagination just ran away with you, and it was just, I don't know, it was just an awesome thing to listen to. It was so much fun.
Obviously, you had the Monster Speaks. Right, you had the Monster Speaks album.
Oh yeah,
that was actually a famous Monsters of Filmland, correct? Wasn't that like produced by
Forrest Ackerman?
Forey.
Exactly. Now, Forey is his birthday today.
Oh,
by
no
the way.
shit!
So happy birthday, Uncle Forey! Yeah, it's his birthday.
I've got a tombstone in my. I got a Uncle Forey tombstone out there. His epitaph is just like the one that's on his tombstone. Sci-fi was my high, or is either sci-fi is my high or sci-fi was my high. That was his epitaph on his tombstone. Yeah,
the original Monster Kid.
Oh yeah, the original
Uncle Forey. Yeah, he launched a generation of us kids. You know, he's responsible for all of us.
We're bastard stepchilds of Forrest J. Ackerman.
Yeah, that's how it could be worse.
I went to this thing that they did this. It was called the Creature Double Feature Roundup, and it was just a little, you know, hotel convention type setup. And they were trying to revive anybody. Basically, it was anybody who remembers, you know, and grew up with the Creature Double Feature from Channel 56 in Boston. Yeah, you know, there was like maybe 100-something people who showed up at this thing. They had some vendors and stuff, but they did like a little presentation. And one of the first lines, the guy who was hosting the thing got up. He goes, he said something to the effect of, we're bastard stepchildren of Forrest J. Ackerman. And everybody started laughing. And it was like, but yeah, it's so true. Kind of funny. I forgot about the famous of Filmland. I always used to just call it Monsters Magazine because Monsters was the big text, you know. So it would say the famous monsters of Filmland.
Sure. Yeah, it was a big
so
word.
I used to always remember I'd walk into a store and you'd see those those used to have the spinner rack displays with all of the comic books and magazines in them. And I'd walk in and you'd see that monster text popping out of the magazine, and I'd be like, run over and grab it, you know, flipping through, had to buy it, brought it home. One of the things that we used to do, is, you remember how carbon paper was a thing? If you remember carbon paper? For anybody who doesn't know what carbon paper it is, it was like,
I remember carbon paper, sure.
would use it for typing, and you'd put a sheet of paper, then a piece of carbon paper behind it, then another sheet of paper behind that. So when you would type on the first paper, it would make a carbon copy behind it on the so you were sandwiching the two pieces of paper with this carbon paper. Well, we used to take that and do kind of the same. We take the famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, we take it and we take the carbon paper, then a piece of paper, and we'd slide it under, and we would take a pencil and we would outline, like draw the monsters. So then you could take the piece of paper out and you'd have your monster. It was like as if you drew it, because you were basically just, tracing the pictures. So it was something that we used to do all the time to make our own little monster pictures and put them on our wall. And,
cool way to trace.
Oh, the technology.
And then they had that technological advancement where you had like the 3-part carbon paper. You can make 2 copies at the same time. Really, really advanced stuff. The real advanced stuff there, It's just, oh boy, what would I think of next? That stuff is a lot of fun, and like I say, Forey was, all that stuff, buying those magazines and Famous Monsters. Really, the Basil Ghost covers, how they were just amazing, vibrant things, all that color, and he was such a great painter, and I think he really put Famous Monsters on the map when he took over the cover art and everything. Who could resist? When you saw that artwork. Yeah,
I was also looking at the same thing, doing like some of the Frazetta covers from Creepy and Eerie, and going, I remember I did order something. I was ordering.
Be careful. Be careful that you're talking about addictions. You already started buying some action figures. And then it's going to be artwork, and here we go.
What's the new magazine? Oh, they had the Creeps magazine that was out, and now it's Shudder. They had to change the name because the Warren Company friggin' sued them, and they had to stop because it was the Creeps magazine, a warrant magazine, so they put a T on it, so it was Warrant Publishing,
Shudder,
not Warren Publishing, and it was, and they were asking for it, and they were even using some Frazetta covers on there, and I loved it. I loved it. Shudder is still great, but I was like, I bought a bunch of. I should just subscribe to that magazine because it has been pretty good. So much of the newer, so much of the newer comics have just been such garbage. They just came out.
I can't read them. I can't read them anymore.
They're awful. You were just making a comment. I think I commented on your video because you made a comment about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely, they're terrible. Like, they, what was it that they re-released, or they so-called rebooted, Tales from the Crypt magazine, right? And they make it look like from the cover that it's the classic EC style, right? I get it. I get issue number 1. I'm all excited. Open it up. Like it was either the first or the second story was a total current day political friggin' propaganda piece. And I'm like, come on. Boy. It's called escapism. I'm bombarded by this bullshit every day. Can I just get something where I can escape into a little fantasy world where I don't have current day politics or bullshit all interwoven into a storyline? I just want to have some fun and escape into some monstrous nonsense, But anyway,
couldn't agree with you more.
I put it on a pull list, which I don't really have anything on because I only grab a couple of things here and there from like the local comic store because most of the stuff is garbage. I get it. I'm instantly pissed off, and I don't want, so I basically went right back and I go, yeah, take that off my pull list. It's fucking garbage. I can't read that. It's just and the stories were just nonsense. I mean, it wasn't just that one. It was like, they were just garbage. And I'm like, you're just bastardizing the name of such a iconic magazine. Now, I found on eBay, I bought a CD that had like the PDF copies of almost every Tales of the Crypt, Haunt of Fear, Vault of Terror, was it Vault of Horror? Vault of Horror. A bunch of their crime and suspense stories, and all. I think I have almost like the entire EC catalog that I grabbed on a disc, and every Sunday I go down to the local place down the street, breakfast shop. And I have my tablet, and I pull up. I was reading Vampirella today. I was in Vampirella 4 today. I was reading it as I was eating breakfast. And that's my Sunday routine. As I go down there, I pull up one of the creepy, eerie, or something else, and I read one of the old magazines and hang out and have breakfast. And that's my Sunday routine. Do you have any routines that you do like that?
Well, I have a thumb drive of all the famous Monsters of Filmland issues on it. Yeah. I watch that, so I do the same thing. Yeah. I pull that up and I watch it. I read the PDFs and everything else, and it's just like it's not the same, obviously, as having the magazines in your hand. But as far as going out and stuff, I do love to go to coffee shops and take my tablet or my laptop with me and put some ideas together. And my whole thing with Monster Kid Studios when I first started this 8 years ago was I wanted to create comic books. I was hoping it would be like a Monster Kid Studios comics kind of thing where I could create some, horror themed comic books, something like that. And I had some great ideas, and I had a friend I was working with who was sort of a writer. But we got bogged down and it took forever to get anything done. And so that's when I started gravitating towards, YouTube and social media and trying to, indulge myself that way and kind of have a creative outlet that way. But I still love to draw. I still love all this stuff, and I haven't given up yet. But it's finding time and putting that. Anybody who's ever created anything like that understands the commitment that it takes. It's a lot. So, but I haven't quit yet. I do love creating art and stuff. I'm hoping that I can, start putting some of my stuff up on the social media channels and things like that and show people what I can do. I've done some things. I put some artwork up and everything, but not as much as I'd like. But that's how it all started. I just wanted to be creative and, have an outlet for that. But then the YouTube channel came along and trying to be a horror host. And like we said earlier, you have to find your thing. You have to find the thing that works for you and that people gravitate towards. And sometimes it takes some effort and it takes a little trial and error. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Well, I just said I actually just started experimenting with Reels and Facebook, and it's really it's been cool because I didn't know I'm going to break down my video of like say the Frankenstein trailer. It's its anniversary last week, and I'm like, okay, so I usually just post the trailer up there, but then I said, all right, let's try the Reels thing. I broke it down into like 5 parts, and then like each one of them is getting 1,000 views or more. And I'm like, so maybe that's where you do most. Maybe you kind of put a lot more of your energy into Instagram. I've found that I've gotten a lot better action on Instagram than I'm getting on Facebook. I'm getting more engagement, and as far as than Facebook or YouTube. So Instagram's a good place. Yeah, my audience on Instagram is much. Yeah, they're much younger on Instagram. I'm getting all these people who are in rock bands and all kinds of cool stuff.
It's amazing. It's amazing how this stuff does transcend so many different age groups. That some people they just love this stuff, and it doesn't go over their heads. They dig it. They dig the collections. They dig the collectibles. They dig the comic books, the movies, and everything else.
Yeah. I've started trying to incorporate, more modern things too. Because I said on my website that, I know who the original Monster Kids are, but I'm like, there's a whole other generation who came up in like the 80s where, Michael Myers and Jason and Freddy Krueger, And those were their classic monsters, so it's like another generation of monster kids. And I started putting up those videos and pictures and stuff of some of the newer movies from the 80s, 90s, even in the 2000s. And I think I'm getting a real response from that, because it's like, it's another generation, another bunch of people to reach who love these monsters just as much as we love the Wolfman and the Mummy, and all. So it just makes sense to me. It's like, it's a generational thing, but it's still, they love what we love, We're all in the same boat here. We love spooky stuff. We love Halloween. We love monster movies. So we all have that in common. And I figure, there's no reason why monster kids had to ever stop. Let's keep the ball rolling. And generation after generation.
Yeah, you don't have to just be a boomer or a Gen Xer. You can, you can be a monster kid and be a millennial and whatever. Yeah,
sure. And then nowadays you went from Chucky to Jigsaw. Now everybody's crazy about this Terrifier stuff, and it's not my cup of tea, but people love that stuff. It's taken off. It's making a fortune.
It's fun, but I don't want to have it in my haunt. I don't want to it has its place for me for sure.
Sure.
But it doesn't have.
If you want to traumatize everybody that comes to your house, sure.
Exactly. Like I say, as far as the old classics, the old classics are family friendly. As much as they used to terrify people back in the 50s, they're so tame compared to what kids are so desensitized nowadays to all the blood and gore that so. But it's,
my one son is 26 and he watches Halloween and it puts him to sleep. He talks about how boring it is, and I'm like, you're not catching the nuance of this movie. You're not understanding the mood, the atmosphere. And atmosphere, nothing's happening in this movie. Oh my God. I was like, you're killing me inside. Are you sure you're my son?
You're dead to me, kid.
Get out of here. That's it. I've had it with you. And, so it's like, you don't understand. Then the new Halloween came out, the David Gordon, whatever his name is. And my son loved it because it was like uber violent and action packed. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I'm like, oh yeah, but it's typical of.
I like the original and I just don't give a shit about any others. I just don't care about the reboots, the remakes, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I like the original one.
I'm with you on that.
I just like the original one. That's it. I'm good. I don't need, there's very few movies that I love the original and then I love the remake. Like The Thing, for instance, The Thing from Another World. I just watched The Thing again. John Carpenter's The Thing the other night, and I'm like, man, I love this movie, and I love it more every time I watch it. And I love the original. The original was a huge one when I was a kid. It was on the Shock Theaters, I believe, is how I originally saw it.
That's right.
Or Creature double feature. I know I saw it there originally. We actually used to we acted out. We played The Thing. Like we made the whole ending scene where we put down some fencing that we found that he had to walk on the fence, and we had a big
cool
2x4 thing that we had to throw, and my brother played The Thing and we had to throw the thing at him to get him to jump onto the fence so we could electrocute him and all that.
You didn't light him on fire, did you?
We didn't actually electrocute.
Please don't.
But it was the
you didn't go that far.
It was the 70s, so it was more acceptable. Acceptable to electrocute a kid on a fence. We were having fun.
You could douse your
kids having fun.
You could douse your brother with gasoline back then. Nobody made a big deal about it.
Shut up.
That's crazy. That's a lot of fun.
It's just a little fire. Shut up, you sissy.
Just roll. Just drop and roll. You'll be all right.
Just like the ad.
What are you worrying about?
Commercial. Stop, drop, and roll, kid. You're all
cry, baby.
You'll be all set. So before I let you go, what are because we didn't get too deep into what are just a couple of your piece de resistance, the prizes of your collection, some of the things that you just would never part with, that are just amazing, like you just love. You can sit there and look at them forever. And what do you got? Well,
right off the bat, it would have to be my wife was sweet enough to buy me one of those Creature from the Black Lagoon hands, the skeletal hands, like it was dug out of the fossilized hand.
Oh, nice.
The life-size one. And she got that, and I got it. It sits on a mantle and stuff. And I got Rico Browning to sign it at a show when I met him.
Gorgeous.
So that means a lot to me because I got to meet Rico. He was like the last surviving Universal monster, and he played the creature in the underwater scenes in the movies. And he was like 80 some odd years old the last time I saw him, and I got him to sign this fossilized hand for me, and I have that sitting on my shelf, and that thing is just like, I don't know. I worship that thing. It was just so cool. He was such a great guy, and that's as close as I ever came to meeting one of the original, Universal monsters. So it was really cool. And that one is a big deal. And then I have my monster mask collection that I just love. I've got those all sitting up on, what do you call it? The stands. I got the stands, and the masks are sitting on them up on my shelves. So, and I've got like the Halloween 3 masks that one of them was signed by Tom Atkins, which is pretty
nice.
Cool. And
I do. That's another thing I do. Like, as I'm not a collector, but I do want to get the 3 mask set to put on like a shelf in my room. I'm going to try to set this up just a little bit. Just do a few things.
It's hard to look at them without thinking, 5 more days to Halloween. Yeah, you almost can. Yeah, that's what he wrote on the mask. Right, I got him to sign my pumpkin mask or jack-o'-lantern mask.
Turn it off.
Yeah, he wrote stop. Yeah. He wrote stop it. He wrote stop it, and
excellent.
So there's that, and I've got all my Sideshow Toys action figures. Dracula and Frankenstein, the creature.
Do you have the Remco collection?
I've got a few of those, but not the originals. I've got like when the stuff it was remade by like what is it, Super 7 or whatever. All those you're talking about those little guys?
Yeah, the little Remco tiny action figures. Yeah.
No, I didn't have any of the original ones of those.
Okay, or just those I think I'm still racking my brain of whether I had those or not when I was a kid. I can't remember if I had those or not. Like it seems like I would, but I can't recall if I had them. I should just buy a set if I see them, not like the original ones, just like the reproduction ones. I think that they're out. So. All right.
Yeah, you can get some of that stuff. I think what did NECA just made that Monsterizer thing that lights up and everything. I think they just made another.
All right, great. Now I got to go spend some more money. All right.
There you go. See, I knew that was going to happen. I knew it. You're doomed.
The more I pay attention to your channel and to other people who cover this kind of stuff, the more I go down that rabbit hole and start wanting to spend more money. And it's like I don't need to collect more shit. I got a house full of all my props and everything else that I have built, which are huge and big and take up so much more space than a little action figure. But I see.
What else are you going to do with your money? Pay bills and all that dumb stuff? Come on. You got to have a little fun in life.
Boring.
We're getting on. I said, we had the toys when we were little, but it's even better now because we have them in our 60s. Yeah. So it's even better. It's more fun now than it was then. Yeah, you're going down the rabbit hole. You're doomed.
Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Oh, MonsterKidStudios.com, Monster Kid Studios on YouTube, Monster Kid Studios on Facebook, Monster Kid Studios on Instagram. And soon I'll be over X and TikTok. And I'm hoping, like I said, I want to get this podcast going. Hopefully right after the new year, I give everybody a break during the holidays, but I want to line it all up and have it on our YouTube channel. So, and like you said, I'll probably put it on the Facebook page and everything else as well. So everybody will have access to it. And it'll be a lot of fun. I hope you'll come on and talk to us. That'll be cool.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Absolutely. I'm in. Just we'll figure that out when you get there. If there's anything you need from me, just hit me up.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Always find me on all the usual social media places. And Rich, it was awesome.
Hey man, it was a lot of fun. I really appreciate this. I really do. It's cool talking to you, man. It's nice to finally get to talk to you and meet you. And hopefully we can do this more often. It's awesome.
Please follow the podcast. Give us a 5-star review. Stalk us on social media. Links in the description. And visit our blog page for more show info at huntcastpodcast.net/blog. Until next time, stay scary.
I can't leave them. I can't. Yes. Go. You live.